Hey guys, so it is just afternoon on Saturday, July the 1st. So I thought we would do a video update, a complete video update this time, and we'll start from the back. We can go stand up here under the tree real quick. It's kind of shady, boy. It's humid out here, humid and sunny. Perfect prescription for rain. You want to watch the bird feeder some more? So okay, anyway, you guys have been asking about cars that have and been working on and what's up with them and where they're going and where they've been and etc, 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 and I've been done a poor job sometimes of keeping you guys in the loop, and I guess I do that because sometimes I don't like just repeating myself and saying, you know, I don't mean that meanly, just saying, hey, I sold another car, hey, I sold another car, oh, it's gone, I'll buy another car. You know, I think, well, people get kind of bored with that, so I kind of tend to trend towards just showing you what's here and what's going on. And so I guess I forget sometimes that some people want to know where stuff went or where it's at. So let's cover a couple of them at least that are no longer here. Number one, the Caprice, the Coupe 77, the one that Uncle Phil was driving. We ended up selling that car because Uncle Phil just couldn't come up with the money. That was his car. He couldn't come up with the money to fix it, and I didn't want to spend the money on it, it being a car that I had given to him. So if he wanted the Plymouth, which was up and running, the green one, then I had to be compensated for it. I know that sounds, in a way, that sounds a little bit harsh, but that's the way it is. It's like people, you know, Musty says it, and other people said it too. You know, you can't just keep giving stuff. You have to get something out of something. So I had to let one of them go. And you know, this Caprice was a nice car for what it was, and I liked those. I've had a few of them, the B bodies, and they are nice, and they're not necessarily expensive to work on, but in the end that was kind of a weak car because it needed a lot of stuff. It needed an engine overhaul or an engine replacement, it needed a transmission, it needed an interior, it needed a windshield, so it needed quite a bit of. There's the cat going up the tree, going over somebody's fence. He's walking across the fence back there. That's the one that tries to kill my birds. So anyway, the Caprice need a lot of work. So this member of an ethnic group bought it, and I guess he's happy with it. He was going to restore it with his son, he says. So it went away. It's been gone about 6 or 8 or 9 months, if not more, maybe about a year actually. So it's gone. The Toyota Echo, that's an interesting little story on that one. Now, during one of my random video segments, I said something effective. I said, well, I've got this Fusion that I may sell and I may keep the Echo, and I just basically jumped around and didn't say anything that was a concrete decision. So what actually ended up happening is I had reached a decision that I did not need 2 cars. I don't need really 2 cars ever, not like that, not just common everyday cars. So I reached a decision that I was going to sell one of them, and the reason I actually even had 2 of them was when I bought that Fusion, I was not sure I could fix it, and I wanted out of that Infiniti because I had a loan on it. So in order to do that, I had to sell it and just pay the loan off, and then I was going to have another car. So I bought that Fusion pretty cheap, and then I bought the Echo kind of as an insurance policy. I thought, well, between the 2 of them, I'm going to get one of them running. So whichever one I don't fix or what happens, I'll sell again. And it turned out I got both of them running. So they were both running and driving and usable cars. So I decided ultimately to keep the Fusion because it's a bigger car and a little bit nicer car. You know the story on that. So the Echo was just kind of sitting around, and I was driving it, and I had not even listed it for sale at all. That tells you how good a Toyota is, even trying to sell them. They're an easy car to sell. My neighbor over here, Lyle, you know Lyle, old smoker, one of his associates, his friends, who I've hardly seen since they bought that car, but told Lyle, I guess, or Lyle told them that I had considered selling that car and they needed one for a family member. And so that's where it went. They bought it for a fair sum and made me a little bit of money, not a whole lot, but made me a little bit of profit on it. So they bought it, drove away in it. It's the last I've ever seen it. It's been about 2-3 months ago. So that's that. The Toyota Echo is gone. It's been gone. I never had any problems with it. The only thing that, well, really didn't have any problems. I was curious about whether it had been run hot once or not, but I don't guess so. It's fine. So anyway, that brings us to the current fleet of cars. Of course, you've seen this 68 Plymouth. The 68 Plymouth is running pretty good now. I tinkered with a distributor on it. I was having some problems getting it timed correctly, and I still am actually, but just been tinkering with it, and it's going to need some more fairly minor work. So I'm about to put a parts order in for it. I'm going to put brake lines on it and put a heater core in. The heater core is blown up in it, and I've already got the gas tank in it and all that good stuff. You saw little of that. I didn't show you much of that. That's not very exciting. You probably have already seen the tire video that I made yesterday on this. So, but anyway, just kind of cruising along on it. So the 63 old, poor 63 old just sits here and sits here and sits here. It's kind of turned into a lawn ornament, and I hate this. This is the kind of stuff that I see someplace, and I'm quick to get on to people and say, you shouldn't let that car sit there and grot like that. You should do this and you should do that. Well, there you go. I'm as bad as anybody. So it's just sitting here. It's not something I want to sell. You know, it's kind of on the back burner as far as what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to fix it, but how I'm going to fix it. So I haven't touched it. I'm trying to get other things out of the way, and i.e. that means get them out of the way and running quickly. The Toyota, you just saw a video on the Toyota. That's where it's at. Haven't done anything more with that because that's only been a day or so. Dart. The Dart, I'm proud to announce, is actually up and running and driving. Transmission's back in it. It runs, it drives, it shifts. So that's a win no matter how you look at it. So I just started back on, you know, I've just been detailing it again. My plan was I was trying to thrash on this thing and get it ready for a car show that happened about 10 days ago, and I didn't make it. And so I thought, well, there's another one coming up. I'm going to try harder for that one. And so I just want to do some detailing under the hood and that kind of thing. It's never in the store with old cars. You always got something to work on, so that's where it's at. So I'm about to put it all the way back together, and we're going to do some road testing on it. I've got some tweaking to do on the linkage, the throttle linkage on it to the transmission. It's kind of one of those things that if I tried to explain it to everybody, it'd bore you to tears, but it's got an aftermarket throttle valve linkage on it, so it's got a cable instead of a rod assembly, and I've had to have a learning session on that myself to know how to set that up. So I'll probably show you a few details on that. Lawn mowers, while we're back here, everything's running good. That Honda mower, boy, that's a nice mower. It's a nice engine, starts every time. With the old 2-cycle lawn boy, it's running good. 2 weed trimmers, that McCullough, that's the one I normally use because it's a lot lighter. And this one had been sitting around. This is this Troy-Bilt 4-cycle I bought about 3 or 4 years ago, and I hadn't really used that much. But about a year ago, it started giving me some carburetor problems, and I kind of just drained the gas out and put it to the side. But I got it out a week or so ago and went through the carburetor again, and finally got the carburetor running good. So it's working fine now. And special bonus segment of this video, this is Lyle's boat. This is the Assmaster boat and Lyle's truck. And Lyle had kind of a shattered dream with this boat because he bought this from a family member of his, I think for 500 bucks, and that basically tells you the story. It's an inboard, had a 2.3 liter Ford engine and some kind of outdrive on it, and the engine had a milkshake in the crankcase. It had about 4 gallons of water and oil mixture in it, and they got the top end off the engine, got the head off of it. Turned out to have a badly cracked block because for some reason, people that own boats like this, even though they have an internal combustion engine, they don't know how to put antifreeze in them. I guess I know they use, I'm sure it's a different method of doing this, of winterizing. I don't think it's maybe it's not putting antifreeze in them, maybe it's just draining the water out of it. I guess that's what they didn't do. Because I confess to you, what I know about inboard boats, I could put on one of my fingernails and have room to spare, but I'm sure that it's like anything that has to have a cooling system on it. It has to be either drained out or put antifreeze in it. So they didn't do either, and it froze, broke the engine. So Lyle's looking for an engine, and it's been like this for about 2 months, and he says he's going to fix it. I don't think he's going to, but there's Lyle's truck, still running. Lyle rarely ever fixes anything on that truck. If it's busted off, or broken off, or shattered, or missing, as long as it doesn't keep it from running and driving, he ain't going to fix it. My plants, I had to add another piece of, what do you call this thing, trellis? Yeah, because this plant's just taking off. This is a mandevilla. Other plant's doing good. My stuff's been blooming. Doing well. So I've been happy with my plants too. So all of you have been asked about the Montero. The Montero's right here, safely parked in the driveway, and not going anywhere until I'm ready to work on it. So it's doing good for the shape it's in. You know, the old joke goes, I'm doing good for the age I am. Well, that's the way this thing is. For having a mostly blowed up engine, it's alright, doing okay. So the plan is loosely the plan is to go ahead and finish with a dart and try to get that Toyota finished back there fairly quickly, and then I'm going to switch some stuff around back there so I can get this on the concrete and either pull the heads off of it or pull the engine out. I'm thinking I'm probably better off just pulling the engine out and dealing with it, but it's a loose plan. There's no plan to sell it. So here's the wonderful mighty Fusion. So I've just been driving this car. I've now got 10,000 miles on this car since I fixed it, the transmission. And so I've just been driving it and piling the miles up on it. Let's see what our mileage is now. Change that back to, yep, 127.71. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think that's accurate based on the amount of wear the steering wheel has on it and the car in general. It could be, but irregardless of that, just to give you a brief recap, if you've not tuned into that series of videos, which surprisingly I don't think that many people have, but this is a car that had the transmission issue in it. It's got a 5-speed automatic, which is made by Mazda, and it was shifting real well. Let me back up. When I got it, it wouldn't even shift through. It got to, what was it doing? It was stuck in either third, I think it was just stuck in third gear. No, that's right. It had first gear, and then it went directly to third, and that's all it ever did. It didn't shift anywhere else. So I took it apart and put a band in it. The band was burned up in it, and so I put a new band in it and changed the fluid. And when I did that, it shifted through all the gears okay, except when it shifted from third to fourth, it just would just, like it had a shift kit in it, just hard shift. So I finally figured out that there's a problem in the casting of the transmission where what's called the overdrive servo pin. It's just this little piston, flat little piston with a pin on it, and it goes directly rides on the bore, the transmission material of the bore, and that's aluminum. So it wore it oblong, and it causes, to make a long story short, it causes a pressure leak. It leaks fluid pressure away from where it should be into a spot where it should not be. So causes those kind of problems. So anyway, I went and ordered a kit to fix that, the only kit that they make to fix that, and repaired it, and then had to repair it again because I didn't use the kit. I used the kit according to the instructions, and the instructions left part of it out. But ultimately, I got this thing fixed, and I'm glad to say, fingers crossed, that it has remained fixed just fine for the last 10,000 miles. Now, the car itself has had a few problems along the way, the worst of which is that about a month or so ago, the air conditioner failed on it. It went out, and originally I thought it was the sensor that goes behind the dashboard. I was not that lucky, even though that's not lucky either. But the condenser blew, and who knows why it did that, if it may have had too much R134 loaded into it, I don't know. Air conditioner didn't work that great. But it ruptured and dumped all the stuff out, so I've just been running without air conditioning. And I have no plans to fix that because, you know, I know people like to say, well, you can get a condenser for $100. Yes, you can, but then you gotta vacuum the system. You gotta reload it. You gotta hope the compressor's okay. You have to hope the compressor stays okay, because I'm telling you, working on air conditioning systems is, it's almost like Pandora's box, and I'm not afraid of doing it, but I just have to be, I'm always cognizant of how much money I'm putting into something, so I don't want to put much money in this car. And the next thing past that is that I've had constant problems with the brakes, the front brakes on this car, and it's not that the brakes have failed, but when I got it, it had a really bad shudder on the front end when you put the brakes on. So I thought, like everybody else has that happen, I thought, well, okay, well, it needs a set of rotors. So I put a set of rotors on it. It did okay for about a month or so, and then it started shuddering again, especially if you go down a hill and you heat the brakes up. It just shudder, and they grind and squeal and vibrate and groan and do everything they can do, but they still work. And shoes are the brake pads are fine, it's not that. So I don't know what's up with that. And I had to put 3 new inside door handles on it. I had to do something else also. I bought the cheap Chinese door handles. I know, you said you don't like Chinese. That's where they come from. There's nothing I can do about it unless you want to pay an arm and a leg from the dealer. Other than that, it's hung in there pretty good. Oh, I know what's wrong with it also. The PCV pipe has got a crack in it, which is up under the intake manifold against the engine. Thank you, Mazda, for putting that in an inaccessible location. So it trips check engine lights periodically, and you hear it running at idle. Sometimes it goes doot. So anyway, that's another thing. That's going to involve taking the fans and the radiator loose and the intake out, or at least loose, to get to that piece of shit. And I'm not inclined to do that either. So the goal is, you can see this coming, that I'm just going to try to keep this sucker going until I get the Toyota fixed. And then if I get the Toyota fixed and the Toyota's okay and I can use the Toyota, then this sucker's probably going to be out of here. If not, I'll have to keep this car and fix it. I really don't want to do that. It's nice running and driving cars, but it's just a little cheap. So okay guys, there's the update. It's a 20-minute update. I hope that's answered most of the questions. If it has not, please ask them, and I'll be glad to answer them. That truck's an 87, by the way. It's got an automatic in it. And appreciate you watching, and see you on the flip side.